So hi guys, we are the group 9 and we are about to present why risk assessment.
So, number one question, why is it important to conduct a risk assessment prior to implementing mitigation control? Next. So, it is important to conduct risk assessment prior to implementing mitigation controls because it helps to identify hazards or to have workplace free of hazards, frequency of exposure to hazards, and strategies to implement to minimize hazards and avoid harm, to discover and prevent mistakes that may lead to risk, and to reduce the probability of impact of identified risks so that it needs to take action to reduce such threats or risks. So it is basically a thorough look at your workplace to identify those things, processes, and situation, and etc. that cause harm, particularly to people. And after you identify, you analyze and evaluate um, how likely and severe the risk is, and when the determination is made of, um, you next decide what measures should be in place to effectively eliminate or control the harm from happening. So that's it.
So number two, what outcomes would you expect when mitigation is based on a thorough risk assessment? So next. The possible outcomes that I expect when mitigation is based on a thorough risk assessment is that it will prevent injuries or illness. Also, we can possibly determine whether a control program is required to a particular hazard. So basically, meron pa pala. It will be easy for us to identify who may be at risk. By that, we can create a safer and healthier workplace and evaluate hazards. Also, we can easily determine appropriate ways to eliminate the hazard or control the risk when the hazard cannot be eliminated. Next is to generalize. We expect that when mitigation is based on risk assessment, it will be easy for us to identify the risks and hazards, and it will provide less danger, less vulnerability to risk. So basically, I think the possible outcome is it will lessen the risk that ma-encounter natin in every situation, like also it will lessen yung mga hazard, and also madali lang natin siya madali lang natin ma-identify yung mga hazard and also yung mga possible na mga danger na ma-encounter natin or sa mga situation na ma-encounter natin. So
So number three, what would you expect if mitigation is implemented without conducting a risk assessment? So first, we have to know what is mitigation. So mitigation measures are action and control measures that are put into place to reduce or eliminate the risk associated with biological agents and toxins. Mitigation includes two steps. First is to identify the various activities or steps to reduce the probability and or impact of an adverse risk. Number two, creation of a contingency plan to deal with the risk that will occur. If mitigation is implemented without conducting a risk assessment, it will reduce the probability of an adverse risk. Considering taking early action to decrease the impact of risk, but you have to acknowledge first the existence of a particular and make a particular risk and make a deliberate decision to continually monitor to assess its efficacy with the intent of revising the course of action if needed. So that means malalasan yung risk kasi nga nag-take tayo ng early action para ma-decrease yung impact ng risk. But even na nag-take tayo ng early action, present pa rin yung risk. Meron pa rin kahit konting risk sa place na yan. So we have to continually monitor kung gaano ba ka-effective yung mitigation measures natin, kung gaano niya ba nalasan yung risk para ma-revise natin yung course of action natin if needed.
So we have number 4. We have the tool risk assessment tools. So first is we have risk matrix and root cause analysis. First is, what is a risk matrix? A risk matrix is a matrix that is used during risk assessment to define the level of risk by considering the category of probability or likelihood against the category of consequence severity. This is a simple mechanism to increase visibility of risk and assist management decision making. So, next, we have the steps for risk matrix. First step is list down the risk. The first step in the process begins with the listing down of all the risks that the participants can think of. We should write down the possible risks that may happen in a specific area and mga possible risks na maisip natin. Second is rate for the probability and impact. Once the list of the possible risks that a project may face is available, the next step is to rate the risk. So, next now is we have to rate kung gaano siya kadelikado or ang impact sa atin. Next is step 3, classify the risk. all risks are not all risks are not equally important from Six Sigma project point of view. So what is Six Sigma project point of view? In the Six Sigma project point of view, we have define, measure, analyze, improve, and control. Hence, they need to be classified and efforts need to be focused only the ones that are priority. So dito, ma-help tayo kung makapokus kung asan dapat tayo mag-focus na ayusin and maging gawin natin siyang priority to avoid that risk. Then step 4, decide on mitigation planning. These are the 3 basic strategies which help mitigate risk successfully. They are prevention, correction, and warning. In prevention, these plans try to ensure that the risk event cannot take place. This is advisable for the high impact risk. So ginasabi 'di ba nila prevention is better cure. So dito gina-emphasize sila dapat i-prevent daw na natin mangyari yung risk. Then we have correction. These plans try to catch the risk early before too much damage has been done. Early signaling is the crux of these plans. However, the characteristics difference is the attempt to minimize the impact. So dito yung maayos natin before mangyari yung risk. These plans try to catch the risk before too much damage. Yan. Then next, warning. Here too, the emphasis is on detecting the risk as early as possible. However, the element of correction is not present. So dito yung gina-identify pa lang natin pero we have di pa natin siya i-correction.
So next, what is a risk matrix? Ay, by the way, mali yan siya guys. It is root cause analysis. So what is a root cause analysis? So root cause analysis is a systematic process for identifying root causes of problems or events and an approach for corresponding to them. RCA is based on the basic idea that effective management requires more than merely putting out fires for problems that develop, but finding a way to prevent them. Root causes are determined for identified risks. These root causes are further used to identify additional risks. So basically, ang root cause analysis ay determine niya yung causes ng existing problem. So next. So as you can see in the picture, ang may weed dyan, the weed corresponds to the problem and its roots correspond to the risk or the causes of the problem. So next, Mitch. So that's all, guys. Thank you for listening.